Arsenal want to sign Vinícius Jr. Let me say that again. One of the most explosive wingers in world football. If you're a rival fan, you should be worried, very worried. Now, before Arsenal supporters start printing shirts with Vinícius 7 on the back, let's be clear. This is still in the early stages. There have been no club-to-club negotiations, and nothing is close to being completed. Arsenal's interest is genuine, but a transfer is far from guaranteed. But sometimes football's biggest stories begin exactly like this: a quiet inquiry, a phone call, an opportunity that suddenly becomes real. And that's why the football world is paying attention. Because if Arsenal somehow pull this off, the balance of power in England could shift once again. Let's start with the biggest question. Why would Real Madrid even consider letting Vinícius Jr. leave? A year ago, that question would have sounded ridiculous. Vinícius wasn't just another player. He was one of the faces of Real Madrid, a Champions League winner, a La Liga champion, one of the most feared one-on-one attackers on the planet. But football changes quickly. Reports suggest Vinícius has entered the final year of his contract, and negotiations over a new deal haven't reached an agreement. Real Madrid don't want to risk losing him for nothing, while Arsenal are among the clubs monitoring the situation. That doesn't mean Madrid want to sell. It simply means they may eventually have a decision to make. Offer more money, reach an agreement, or cash in before it's too late. That's where Arsenal enter the picture. Mikel Arteta has transformed Arsenal into one of Europe's elite again. They've built a young squad. They've won major trophies. They've become one of the hardest teams to play against. But every great team reaches a point where one signing can change everything. Manchester City had Erling Haaland. Could Arsenal be looking for their own transformational superstar? Because that's exactly what Vinícius Jr. is. He's not just another winger. He's a game breaker. The kind of player defenders hate facing. His pace is terrifying. His dribbling creates chaos. His movement stretches entire defensive lines. Give him 1 yard of space, and the match can change instantly. Now imagine him playing alongside Bukayo Saka. Think about that for a second. Saka on the right, Vinícius on the left, Martin Odegaard pulling the strings, Declan Rice controlling midfield. Suddenly, Arsenal don't just have balance, they have fear. The kind of attack that keeps managers awake at night. How do you stop both wings at the same time? Double team Saka, Vinícius destroys the other side. Focus on Vinícius, Saka has room to create. It's a nightmare scenario for defenders. That's why so many rival fans reacted with panic when these reports emerged. Social media exploded. Some called it impossible, others laughed. Many simply said, if Arsenal actually pull this off, we're finished. And honestly, you can understand why. Because Vinícius isn't entering his decline. He's still in his prime. He's already proven himself on the biggest stages in football. Champions League finals, El Clásicos, World Cups. Pressure doesn't scare him. He thrives on it. Of course, there are huge obstacles. Let's talk about the biggest one: money. Transfers at this level aren't just about paying a transfer fee. You also have wages, signing bonuses, agent fees, image rights, performance bonuses. Everything adds up. Arsenal would likely have to make Vinícius their highest paid player if a deal ever happened. That alone makes this one of the most difficult transfers imaginable. Then there's Real Madrid. Even with his contract situation, they're not going to let one of the world's best players leave cheaply. Any deal would almost certainly involve one of the biggest transfer fees in football history. So is it realistic? Right now, it's difficult. But impossible? Football has taught us never to say never. Nobody believed Cristiano Ronaldo would leave Manchester United for Real Madrid until he did. Nobody believed Lionel Messi would leave Barcelona. Nobody expected Neymar to join PSG for a world record fee. Nobody thought Harry Kane would leave Tottenham after so many years. Football constantly surprises us, and Arsenal themselves have shocked the football world before. Think back to Mesut Ozil. Very few people believed that transfer would happen. Then one deadline day changed everything. That's why Arsenal fans have every reason to dream, even if the odds remain difficult. But let's look beyond the transfer itself. What would Vinícius actually bring to Arteta's system? One word: unpredictability. Arsenal are already an outstanding team. They're structured, disciplined, technically excellent. But sometimes, against deep defensive blocks, they need someone capable of producing something from absolutely nothing. That's Vinícius. Receive the ball, beat two defenders, win a penalty, create a goal, score from nowhere. Elite football is often decided by moments like these, not systems, not tactics, moments, and Vinícius specializes in creating them. Of course, every signing carries risk. Would he adapt to the Premier League? Most likely. Would he fit Arsenal's demanding defensive structure? That's another question. Arteta expects every forward to work without the ball, press aggressively, track runners, stay disciplined. Those tactical demands are non-negotiable. If Vinícius joined Arsenal, he'd have to embrace that responsibility. The Premier League is different from La Liga. There's less time on the ball, more physical battles, higher intensity every single week. Even world-class players need time to adjust. But if anyone has the talent to succeed, it's Vinícius Jr. Then comes the psychological impact. Sometimes transfers hurt rivals before a ball is even kicked. Imagine being Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham. You've spent years trying to catch Arsenal. Then suddenly they add one of the world's best wingers. That changes how everyone thinks, how everyone plans, how everyone recruits. Great players don't just improve their own teams, they force rivals to react. That's why blockbuster transfers matter so much. They reshape competitions. Now let's keep our feet on the ground. As exciting as this story is, Arsenal are only exploring the possibility at this stage. There is no agreement, no medical, and no guarantee the move progresses. Much depends on Vinícius' contract talks with Real Madrid and whether both clubs ever reach formal negotiations. So don't believe anyone telling you the deal is done. It isn't. But don't dismiss it either. Interest is real. The circumstances are interesting, and football has a habit of producing unbelievable transfers when least expected. If Arsenal somehow convince Real Madrid, if they somehow convince Vinícius, if they somehow make the finances work, the Premier League could witness one of its biggest transfers ever. Because this isn't just another signing. This is one of the world's elite footballers, a player capable of deciding titles, changing seasons, creating history. Whether it happens or not, one thing is already certain. The fact that Arsenal are even being linked with a player of Vinícius Jr.'s caliber tells you just how far this club has come under Mikel Arteta. A few years ago, Arsenal were fighting just to qualify for the Champions League. Today, they're being mentioned alongside the biggest names in world football. And if this dream somehow becomes reality, rival fans may have been right all along. We really could be totally finished.